Welcome, welcome. So this is going to be a video response to NutnFancy and his video for King Obama. And if you haven't watched the video, go ahead and check it out. But let me just clear up just something really quick. Just start out of the gate to say that I've been a NutnFancy subscriber and fan for probably about 2.5 years. I really enjoy his videos, really enjoy his life philosophy videos. His reviews are very in-depth, and I really appreciate the time and effort and energy and details he puts into his videos. So I definitely got to give him credit for that. Now, with that being said, I went to the video, I had a lot of time on my hands on Saturday. Ended up, posting a lot of comments. I posted like a 4, section, channel comment, basically explaining my disagreeing with him on this video, but saying still, I really appreciate, what you do, and I'm just going to still be a follower. Well, that's no more, because I've been banned by his sister or whoever moderates the TNP site. Was banned from making any more comments. I was banned from being a subscriber. So more than likely I will probably, and that's fine. That's their prerogative to do that. I don't have any beef. I'm not going to be here saying F you NutnFancy for banning me. That's your choice. That's cool. I really don't care, honestly, because the video for King Obama has about it's about half and half of people who agree with the video, half and half who disagree, and the comments are pretty much echoing exactly what I was saying. So they can do it for me. That's fine. But I thought I would do this video just kind of summarize my feelings on what was said, and the attitude of NutnFancy towards the upcoming election here. Let me just start out by saying, too, that giving this quote, and this is a quote from the video, and he said, charter of TNP, with NutnFancy Project, is to help preserve the Constitution and liberty. Now, in the video, NutnFancy comes out and says, basically, look, just to summarize the video, it's now pretty much between Obama and Mitt Romney. He says, I'm not really that big of a fan of Mitt Romney. Admits that he's a fan more of Ron Paul's stance, but because of the political reality of the situation, he needs to vote. We need to all vote for Mitt Romney because he represents a lesser of two evils when it comes to destruction of the Constitution. And while he's obviously entitled to his own opinion, I see that as being extremely misguided and misinformed if you really look at the issues. In the video, he really doesn't touch on things like the National Defense Authorization Act, our military actions in Libya, the US Patriot Act, the idea of an indefinite detention, prolonged detention of terror suspects without any kind of evidence, and so on and so forth. These issues, both Mitt Romney and Obama agree on, and they stand together on. They also stand together on some sort of action, possible action in Iran, although it sounds like Mitt Romney really wants to go into Iran, according to a Washington Post article I read yesterday. But the idea that there is a difference between the two, Obama and Romney, is just, it's not realistic. You're either listening to pundits at Fox News, Glenn Beck, although I know NutnFancy did just do a video for the Glenn Beck show. So I wonder if he's just parroting a lot of the the asinine crap that Beck uses, fear mongers. Which reminds me, Obama is not a socialist. I keep seeing people saying he's a socialist, he's a communist, and so on and so forth. No, the man is a corporatist. The binding of binding of state and corporate powers to basically take the wealth of we the people and give it to their corporate banking global corporate handlers. That's what Obama represents, and that's definitely what Mitt Romney represents. I've got about 10 minutes here, so let me just continue to kind of go through. So to say that Mitt Romney is going to slow up the ascent of tyranny, the threat to our constitutional rights, is just asinine, if you really take a look at the issues. But my biggest beef with that video is the fact that NutnFancy's basically saying, look, you might want to vote for principle, you want to vote for your conscience and what your heart tells you, but you know what? You're throwing your vote away and you're giving a vote to Obama if you do that. And we hear that all the time. The lesser of two evils. You must vote for the lesser of two evils because of the political reality of the situation. Well, the political reality is not really reality. It's the social engineered storyline that continues to allow our government to get more and more corrupt, to allow it to get farther and further from what its original intent was to look over, to govern we the people, but it's really kind of just become kind of a big money machine for corporate interests. So to say that the political reality of the situation is essentially reality is a fallacy. We are the ones who create reality, and the whole thing about Ron Paul not being electable, if you would stop saying that and actually would go out and vote for him, he would become electable. That's for anybody running for political office. If we would stop looking at this as Democrats are bad, Republicans are good, or Republicans are bad, Democrats are good kind of mentality, allegiance to party lines, we might see some real change in this country based off of if we would vote who's really constitutionally, who represents the Constitution. So it's the idea that he's up there saying you're basically throwing your vote away. You might want to vote for your conscience, but vote for your conscience. Third-party candidate Ron Paul is a vote for Obama. No, it's a vote for whoever you vote for. Okay? It cracks me up when people still blame Ralph Nader for the loss of the 2000 election, because it's asinine. It's extremely asinine to look at it that way. But what really just bugs the crap out of me is the fact that NutnFancy talks a lot about doing what's right. His sheepdog mentality of basically civilian sheepdog is you basically should, you have the, do what's right. Go out and run to the fire, take action, do what's right. And then he turns around and tells us that we have to vote for somebody who we don't think in our hearts is the man or woman for the job. I think that's extremely hypocritical. And I think that pretty much destroys his credibility as someone who, quote unquote, defends, wants to preserve the Constitution. I think that's crap. You go out and you vote for who you think the best person is. You don't vote for soft tyranny or hard tyranny. You should be voting to stop tyranny. That's the whole point of the idea that this whole thing about slowing or accelerating, I want to fucking stop tyranny. I'm tired of our rights being taken away. I'm tired of voting for the same thing over and over again, the same, BS. and getting and we're you know, it's insanity. It's the Albert Einstein vision of insanity, of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's the reality of the situation. That is the reality, not the political, socially engineered, media created hype BS reality that NutnFancy and everybody else who believes that, you know, it's a some sort of high school contest. You know, we're fighting here for our lives, people. We're fighting for our rights. And if we continue to vote them, saying, well, you know, Ron Paul, you know, he just doesn't have enough, you know, support, I guess I'll vote for Mitt Romney. How in your conscience can you say, especially if you're standing here saying, I agree with all the things Ron Paul says, how in good conscience can you sleep at night knowing you voted for somebody who's essentially doing the exact opposite of what you in your heart feels is right? You know, it's like letting, you know, I guess, you know, I'm coming up on the fly here as far as like analogy. It's like being like a babysitter, you know. Your babysitter, you know, ends up being, you know, it could be either Grandpa, you know, Grandpa Jones or whatever, you know, or the guy down the street who's a child molester, and Grandpa Jones is not available. Oh, you know, we'll just go with, you know, Mike the child molester down the street, you know. You know, it's just like you keep. It's just, it doesn't make sense. I don't know. I can't put it in any other words to say. Basically, you make your own reality. There is no such thing. There's political theater. There's socially engineered reality, in which the media continues to tell you over and over again that Ron Paul's not electable. You continue to buy into that, as NutnFancy does. Now, if NutnFancy was a man of integrity as far as his ideals when it comes down to voting his conscience and who he really feels is a defender of the Constitution, he'd be voting for Ron Paul. But unfortunately, he sees the world, you know, as the media is projecting to him, that, oh, well, Obama's less harmful than Mitt Romney. No, they're both, you know, they're both the same empty suit. They both are supporters of the wars. They're both supporters of the destruction of our Constitution via legislation like the US Patriot Act. And they both are, you know, highly, you know, their main fundraising and contributions come from big banks who are screwing us. And they both like the Federal Reserve too, by the way. So that's my response. I really don't have anything to say other than, well, I respect your opinion on the matter, and you have a right to disagree with me, and I have a right to disagree with you. Your logic is flawed, and that video, the King Obama video, pretty much destroys any credibility you have as far as your honesty and your beliefs and doing what's right. If you feel that Ron Paul is the man, if you really in your heart felt that Mitt Romney was the man to vote for, I'd respect that because you at least believe it. But you know what? You don't. And that's a very cowardly thing to go out and say, I don't like the guy, but I'm going to vote for him anyway. It's a vote for the same thing. It's a vote for the continuation of the destruction of our Constitution and our liberties. And as somebody who wants to, quote-unquote, preserve that, you're doing the wrong thing. That's my opinion. That's my 2 cents. Reply if you want. I don't care. Later.